husband.
Okay, so while all of that's happening, Caitlin, a federal judge today blocking Trump's order to stop birthright citizenship. What more do we know about that?
Yeah, so what we have now is the courts figuring out what to do after the Supreme Court looked at this on its first pass, this birthright citizenship executive order. The judge in New Hampshire, a district level judge, so trial level judge, what he said is it's not even a close call. I'm putting a hold on this policy, and that means that babies born in the United States after February 20th or that haven't been born yet, they're going to be citizens even if they're born to immigrants, mothers and fathers who are in the U.S. either temporarily or illegally, or one parent is here in that way and the other parent is not here at all. So those babies, they will be citizens. They'll get birthright citizenship. That's the judge's determination here. But this ruling is on pause because there's going to be more appeals here. The last time this went up and back in the courts, up to the Supreme Court said no nationwide injunctions. You have to figure out a way to apply this to a specific group of people, a class. That's what that group of babies is, born on February 20th or after of this year. That's the class. So the judge is interpreting the Supreme Court. We have a new order in place. It blocks the Trump administration policy, but like many of these things, there will be more court.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
When will they ever get it, family? When will they ever get it? You know, but hey, I'm gonna read the first two. Based on the Supreme Court, I would say ignore the federal judge. Trump gets to ignore the lower court's decision and follow the Supreme Court's ruling. When will they ever get it? I tell you, these judges think they outrank the president. I tell you, man. Oh boy, But back with fake news, ABC. Sometimes they get it right. Sometimes they get it right. Especially now when they walk up to the headquarters now. Yeah, after that fat lawsuit, after that big ass lawsuit, yeah, they walk up there with their booty tight, sweating. Yeah, they try to get it right. They try to put out the right headlines now. Yeah, after that fat lawsuit, yeah, buddy. Oh yeah. But you just can't make this up, man. I don't know why we got to keep going through this. I really don't. Why do we have to keep going? It's very tiresome, But here we are. I tell you, man, the people spoke loud and clear. Some people think it's just common sense. The people voted for common sense. We didn't vote. We didn't elect the judge. The hell with the judge. I say impeach the judge. I say put the judge on the plane, deport the judge. I say put the judge in handcuffs. Yeah, somebody got to be walked out with their hands behind their back. Judges think they outrank the president. Where the hell they do that at? Oh, we know where.
And we have breaking news now. A federal judge is temporarily blocking President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. The New Hampshire judge says he will certify a class action lawsuit on behalf of all the children affected by President Trump's EO and issue a preliminary injunction blocking it. You might remember just last month, the Supreme Court allowed President Trump to move forward on that executive order and limited the authority of federal judges to block the order without a class action. Let's bring in ABC News DC Bureau Managing Editor, along with ABC News contributor and legal analyst James Sample. So, Catherine, walk me through the details of this judge's order and what the judge is saying here.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. There was a hearing in New Hampshire, about an hour-long hearing in New Hampshire, where the judge went over his order here. And what this is doing is blocking the Trump administration's executive order that was issued, of course, on February 20th. So that is when anybody who was born in the United States after that executive order was signed. So that's who this applies to. So it's important to point out that this lawsuit was filed in New Hampshire last month. It was brought on behalf of pregnant immigrants, 2 immigrant parents and their infants. Now, you just mentioned that it does come after the Supreme Court's order, a ruling, if you will, on the nationwide injunctions. Of course, this ruling comes from a federal judge in New Hampshire, but it does come after the Supreme Court's order. Now, what's interesting here is that the Supreme Court's order did leave the...
Daddy came home, pulled out the belt, and say, "Wham! Ain't y'all gonna stop cheating the system? Y'all been cheating the system for too long, but guess what? Daddy's home." Daddy's home. Look, I'm just reporting on what's going on, and I feel great saying that Daddy's home. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. That's too sad. Cry me a river, But hey, the man told you what he was going to do on day one. He told you millions of times. He told you at the campaign as them beautiful patriots cheered and war, and the whole place was raw. Like the whole place was shaking and full of excitement. And majority of America said yes. So look, here we are. Every single swing state, whether you like it or not, the hell with the judge, walk the judge out, impeach the judge. I say send the judge to Ukraine, El Salvador, wherever they want to go. If you don't like it, you can always leave America, But yeah, them people, and then the ones that did it right and went through the system and did everything they were supposed to do, yeah, they pissed off too. Yeah, they are pissed off, and they agree with President Trump. They like the Supreme Court's ruling. The hell with the judge, especially that federal court, lower court judge. Yeah, I say walk the judge out in handcuffs. Yeah, take his robe. A lot of them don't deserve it. A lot of them, shouldn't even be where they at now. A whole bunch of them. I ain't lying to you. The judges, a lot of judges are the enemy of the people. Yeah. They have no common sense. They want the criminals to go right back into the communities. I tell you, man, you did what? Oh, we have to have a little bit of sympathy, compassion for him. It's okay that he killed 5-6 people. It's okay. Oh, it's all right. He won't do it again. Oh, Robert won't do it again. Robert, you won't do it again, won't you, buddy? Okay, we'll let you back out. And we let him back out. Bam! 2 weeks later. Yep. 2 weeks later, he's right back. Yep. And not only that, he killed a family member. He killed a family member. Killed a family member, Yep. And then some random person just enjoying their life, gets their life taken, and they had nothing to do with what was going on. Somebody got into a fight. We seen a case like that we covered the other day. The 13-year-old girl. Y'all remember that case? The 13-year-old girl. And the guy fired off shots, fired a gun, and killed the 13-year-old girl in the mall. She just enjoying her time in the mall as a 13-year-old. Yeah. Thugs. They care so much about the thugs, the criminals. They have no common sense. And they say the hell with the Supreme Court ruling. Yeah, we got to walk these people out, man. The hell with the judge.
Door open for challenges to seek relief by filing class action lawsuits. And that's what we are looking at here. So while the court did generally block this practice of nationwide injunctions, it did have those specific carve-outs. This is not a nationwide injunction. So these class action suits that you're seeing today essentially will achieve that same effect. It will be interesting to see, of course, how this plays out through the courts, through the appeals courts, and how the appeals courts interpret the Supreme Court's ruling as it relates to this. But right now, of course, the judge is issuing this block on this executive order from going into effect for certain classes of people.
So, James, what happens from here? Because the judge says that he is going to certify this class action, and the Supreme Court in their ruling did say the way to get a large nationwide type injunction is this way. So what are the next steps?
Well, the judge stayed the order for a period of 7 days, which is essentially giving the government time to appeal. An appeal in this case would go to the First Circuit, the Federal Court of Appeals that's primarily based in Boston. And then if it were to be appealed from there to the Supreme Court on an express track, presumably. But you're right that the Supreme Court's ruling did leave this door open, Diane, for a class action. It is an additional hurdle that plaintiffs and parties challenging government actions have to go through. And we often hear the term thrown around, class action. What does it actually mean in practice? Well, it means that there are four basic requirements of a class action. Numerosity, there need to be numerous people. That certainly applies here. Typicality, the claims of the representative party are typical of all of the absentee class members. So here, an unborn child or a child of an undocumented immigrant, their situation is typical of those absentees who would be in that same circumstance. Commonality, they have common questions of law or fact. The common question here couldn't be plainer. Is the executive order to change the meaning of the 14th Amendment constitutional or not constitutional? And then finally, adequacy. Are the named class members going to adequately represent the interests of all of the class members? The judge in this case, a George W. Bush appointee, Joseph LaPlante, said yes. That is the mechanism at this point, based on last month's ruling, to challenge something on a nationwide basis.
Catherine, what happens next now?
Well, look, I think it's exactly what we just laid out here. This is obviously there's a 7-day period where the Trump administration can challenge this. Surely they will say that the executive order is constitutional and this will make its way through the courts. It will be interesting, of course, to see what the appeals court says. I believe the Supreme Court ruling doesn't go into effect until the end of July. But the reality is here that with the Supreme Court ruling, we are entering an entirely different legal landscape. We haven't really seen the effects of that yet. So this is an interesting challenge to observe, especially as it works its way through the appeals court. Of course, as we've discussed, there's that 7-day period for the Trump administration to appeal, which I'm sure they will.
All right. Supreme Court ruling. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section down below. And like we always say, you just can't make this up.